Hello, hello, hello. And we are here at the Kevin Ross Emery Show with a very bedraggled looking Ashley Olstein over to my right. You can see that Ash, let her hair go dark. And again, hello, hello, hello. We are having some issue with Facebook. So we are going to have to add it back in. And it's been doing this every week, and I don't know why. But it seems like Facebook doesn't like it when it's pre-scheduled. But yours is fine. So how are you today, Ashley?
No, Kevin, I'm not Ashley.
You're not? But it's the Kevin
me.
You.
By the way.
Here. Let me wipe the stuff out of my eyes. Matt, hey, buddy, how are you?
I'm good. Although I'm a little freaked out, Dr. Kevin, because looking at you with the blurry background, you look like a ghost. Is this actually you, or are you a ghost? See?
I have passed to the great beyond.
Well, that's you look great for a dead guy, I got to tell you.
I'm
Kudos
dead.
to you.
I've never felt better.
It's a testament to clean living and clean dying, I guess.
Yeah, what can I say? So Ashley is going to be unable. She got tied up, and I try not to get involved with her love life, so I didn't ask questions. I just know she got tied up and was not going to make the show. But since it's you and I, we are used to just doing it all by ourselves. For those
just
of you
and I.
There you go.
Didn't know I was going to sing, did you?
No, you're always welcome to sing. I mean, that's what I have a mute button for.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, for those of you who may be joining us for the first time, the first Thursday of every month, which we have called a lot of things through the years. We've called it Thirsty Thursday. We've called it, what were some of the other names along the way that my very scarily creative came up with? There was Thirsty Thursday. I remember that one. But there's a couple of other ones I come up with along the way.
Weren't you calling it Through a Spiritual Lens or something at one point, or something like that?
Oh, yeah. Yep. 20 years on the air. I'm always calling it something. So you got to change things up and stuff like that. But for those of you who may be joining us live and new, I want to introduce you to Matt Connarton. Matt Connarton joins me pretty much the first Thursday of every month. So next month, because the first Thursday is July 4th, he'll be joining me on the 11th. Because for those of you who don't know, all of that hoopla and everything, that's for my birthday, because my birthday's July 4th. So I know you think it has something to do with patriotic, but the term patriotic has gotten so twisted. It's more twisted than I am these days. So we won't have it. Go ahead. Yes.
Well, coincidentally, a gentleman named Eric Pilcher, he does a classic film review for us on Matt Connarton Unleashed. And the most recent film that he reviewed, I don't mean most recent in terms of when it was released, because it is a classic film review, but his most recent review was of the film Born on the 4th of July.
Oh, I've never seen it, actually.
I actually have not either. I have difficulty with war movies. They depress me. But apparently it's a great film.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to say he did a review of Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Is that a movie? I thought it was just a song. Is there an actual film?
Well, actually,
is it a musical?
It was a musical with James Cagney, and now I've got to stop and I'm audience, help me out. You can ask questions or you can make comments. What was the name of the actual movie that had Yankee Doodle Dandy in it? It might have been Yankee Doodle Dandy. I'm not sure. See you looking it up, and you're going to let me know. But Matt joins us the first Thursday for a long time now. I don't know how many years you've been doing the show with me, I know it's not the full 20, but it's close.
Long time.
Yeah, yeah. And we were always focusing on politics from kind of like a spiritual perspective, but also the idea that the spiritual community sometimes thinks it should be above politics, but it should never be above voting. It makes a difference. And, lessons come in hard ways. And if not enough people vote in the right direction come this November, there's going to be some hard ways coming. So it is important. You are not above the world. You're not better than the world. You're just arrogant and clueless. This world does affect you, whether you'd like to think so or not. So Matt usually comes in and we talk politics. However, Matt's not doing a political show Monday through Friday anymore. Now you're doing a musical show, which is your original roots. That is on Saturdays from 9 to 12 at WMNH 95.3. You can also go to mattconnarton.com and watch it there.
I like that. I like the scrolling.
Hey, we're
exactly.
Hey, we're upgrading. But we're going to start with astrology because we do astrology weekly now. We try to give you the insight for the week. I usually try to explain it using Ashley's chart as a backdrop. I'm going to use Ashley and Matt's chart as a backdrop to talk about this week's astrology. So if you have your astrology chart, get it out. If you have an astrology chart that you got offline and it has all sorts of confusing things on it and it said some blah, blah things that didn't make sense to you and you had not had your astrology chart done. If you ever want to get your astrology chart done so that you can come to our show weekly and find out what is the weather in your chart for the week, you can always contact me at kevin@kevinrossemery.com and we'll schedule a session to do your chart, your solar return, your progress chart, all of that stuff. But
did you say solo return?
Solar.
Solar.
Solar return. It's when the solar return is when the sun returns to the exact degree it was when you were born.
Oh.
So it's the solar, like solar panels, sun. So the solar return is when that does it and it hits that spot, it gives you your chart for the year. So, like your birth chart is your foundation chart. Your progress chart is what you've been building on it and where you are in the building process with it. And your solar return is kind of what are your outfits for the year? What are you going to be wearing this year? And then I apply whatever the aspects are that are going on in the skies, which we always call planetary influence on the show, because you should never give your power away to astrology. It doesn't tell you what to do. It just tells you what the weather's going to be like, and then you can choose,
Dr. Kevin, is there also a lunar return? And if not, don't you think there should be?
Well, your lunar return would happen on a very regular basis because of the quickness in which the moon goes around.
Ooh.
So, the moon is changing signs every 2 or 3 days. So you do the math. That means it would come back and it would hit you multiple times.
So you'd be having a lot of lunar returns.
Yep. You have a loony amount of lunar returns.
And one other question, because you made that terrible joke, so I'm compelled to ask you this, because I was just going to let you move on. But is there a version of astrology for flat earthers? Do they have their own? Because obviously everything works differently for them in their alternate universe. Is there an astrology for the flat Earth community?
There is not that I am aware of that there is an astrology for the flat Earth community. Having flat Earth, if they accept, and I don't know if they do or they do not. I am behind on my list of nutcase organizations that I need to study to understand what the current
There's a lot.
stupidity is going on in the internet. I know it's a growing list.
Yes.
So, but if they still had degrees, if they did longitude and latitude, so do flat earthers do longitude and latitude? They do. Yes, that is a
Oh, I don't know. You're asking me. I'm not a flat earther. I don't know. I mean, when you said if they still had degrees, I thought you meant, if they had actual educations.
No. Like
Oh,
longitude, latitude.
oh, yeah. I don't know. I would think that they would, because even on a flat earth, you have to be able to locate things, and GPS has
Geolocate.
to function somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if they have longitude and latitude, technically an astrology chart could be done for them
Mm,
because you're
okay.
proving, I mean, it doesn't change the fact that the astrology takes in the time of birth, the day of birth, and the place of birth, and the place is established by longitude and latitude. Now, the question is, if they do longitude and latitude, does it look more like a grid city, like Phoenix, like Phoenix, Arizona is a grid city where everything goes
Hmm.
like this on the
Hmm.
grid?
Hmm.
And so it might change. You might find that if you were born in Milwaukee on flat earth, that you were born in Taiwan in the round earth, because I don't know how they overlay the grid. So, you might have to come up with, if they wanted their astrology chart done, they were going to have to come up with a way to take a formula that converts flat earth longitude and latitude to round earth longitude and latitude, and then we could do the chart. Didn't expect an actual answer, did you?
I wasn't sure. Oh, it sounds complicated. Probably just easier to have a round earth.
Well, the earth has been around for a long time.
Ah,
So
see what you did there.
let's get the astrology out of the way. And on June 6th at 15 degrees Gemini, we have a new moon. A new moon is about new beginnings. So in about 6 months, that Gemini new moon will become a Gemini full moon, which means the energy that you would use tonight. And I always look at the moons as a 3-day thing. So it would have had the energy of the new moon yesterday, today, and tomorrow. You take the energy, that energy, and it's an energy of like new beginnings. It's a place where it's a good time to set a goal or create a plan or do something. Now, interestingly, because of the way that fell, that new moon for both you and Ashley fell in your 9th house, which means that in Gemini is about collecting data. It's an earth sign. I'm sorry, it's an air sign, and air signs are about thinking. There are airheads. They're about thinking. And Gemini is mutable earth, is about collecting data, bringing stuff in and seeing how it can collect data to make things different, to make things better, to change things, mutable, to keep things moving, growing, things like this. So both of your new moons is in the 9th house, which is education, higher philosophies, religion, travel. It's kind of the way in which you are trying to determine. I always look at it as kind of rebellious. It's how you're going to point out that the current set of systems are failing and how to make them better. And so in that 9th house, whether the travel is literally traveling physically around the world or traveling in your mind of, I never met a God that I liked because they were all associated with a religion. So I think that I'm going to create a little bit, I'm going to take a pinch of this God and a pinch of that God, and somewhere I'm going to come together and I'm going to have a Picasso God that, has all sorts of, different like colors. Maybe that God will even, who knows, wear a rainbow.
A Picasso god.
Yeah, Picasso God. So
Okay.
it
Be a
would
good
be
name for a band.
actually it would be Picasso God.
Mhm.
What kind of band would it be? Calypso?
Oh goodness, no! It'd be like a late '90s alternative, something that you'd see on Sunday night on 120 Minutes on MTV, that kind of thing. And they'd be, I would imagine, they'd be opening for the Lemonheads.
Oh, well, isn't that a sour deal?
Yeah.
So, well, I was thinking the Rainbow God because you can't really see it unless I do this. I'm wearing my Pride, not Prejudice shirt today, as it is Pride Month.
Yes.
I've been doing because I do stories every day now that go out on my Instagram and my Facebook, and so I'm doing most of them with the backdrop of a rainbow flag, the trans flag, or the updated rainbow combination flag, and I'm hitting different issues every day or different thoughts because stories are only a minute. So, but this is a time to make plans. And so if you're feeling the rub of some kind of institutionalized thinking, philosophy would be there. Or it's also could be a time when you're thinking, I want to collect data because I'd like to maybe take a vacation, go see another part of the world. I'd like to travel. I'd like to experience another culture. This period for both you and Ashley would be a good time to start the planning process that in 6 months would come to some kind of fruition. So, and for you, Matt, this new moon is going over it's going to be hitting your Saturn and it's going to hit your moon. So your moon will be conjunct your moon. So a lunar return.
Oh, I like that idea. Lunar return. I'm telling you, it's going to catch on.
No, there are people that do look at the lunar turn. There are people that do everything on like moon-based charts.
Oh, okay.
But lunar returns would be
like the ocean
differently because they happen so happen so fast. They're 3 days.
Yeah.
You have 3 days, and you have. I think I'm probably going to get somebody yelling at me about this, but they're welcome to comment. I think you're going to have like 13 Gemini moons a year. So you can't really solidify. I don't know. I've never done moon-based astrology, but I know it exists. So, but you're welcome to check it out. You've got from now to July 11th to become an expert and come in here. And so you can challenge me. I'm sure you have nothing to do with your time.
No, I'll do moon stuff.
You're gonna moon me? Is that what you're saying?
No, I think that would get us. I don't think you can do that on social media. However, I do like the idea of the moon being made of cheese, but I object to the idea of it being made of green cheese, as some people like to say, because number one, the moon clearly is not green, and number two, I would prefer a delicious Wisconsin extra sharp cheddar.
Okay. I like blue. A blue moon, a blue cheese moon would work.
Blue cheese moon?
Yeah, blue cheese moon.
That's a song, isn't it?
You'd be too.
Oh, I was thinking of blue cheese moon. Never mind. I can't do it. I can't pull it off.
So
I went for the bit, but I couldn't pull it off. I shouldn't have bothered.
No, leave it on. Leave it on. It's a family show. Anyways, that new moon is in Gemini. It is in Gemini. It started entering new moon energy, and it was in Gemini yesterday, today, and tomorrow. That's where it hits in your chart and Ashley's chart, and that's what you should be aware of. On 6/8, we have Venus, and Venus is squaring Saturn, and Saturn is in Pisces, and this Venus, which is in Gemini. So a square is when stuff within your head fight among itself. If it's in opposition, it's a fight you're having with the world over conflicting ideas or values or perspectives. This is a fight that's going on internally within you. And so Saturn is very much about, it's a teacher planet. It's about creating structure and foundation and learning the lessons and doing things in a kind of a methodical, correct like way. Think of a bean counter. Think of an accountant. Think of somebody that is right there, and they're going to put that. Now, it's hanging out in Pisces, which is this mutable water. Pisces is like the original spiritual hippie, and it's kind of floating. So Saturn doesn't like being there anyways. Saturn's kind of like, these energies creep me out a little. I'm not happy here. I'm trying to teach them a good, solid how to live in the here and now best you can. And Pisces is like, let's talk about past lives. Let's talk about the energy of the spirits. And Saturn's like, no, no. So it's already in a struggle there. Now it's going to be a struggle in Venus, with Venus, which is a lesser benefic. Venus brings us good stuff. And so this is an internal fight, a part of you that may be looking to want to do a little self-pampering, doing a little bit of care, buying yourself something that you've wanted in your home, like a piece of art or stuff like this. And then for you, this kind of Venus squaring for you is in your 5th house of creativity, and it is in your it is in your 5th house of creativity and your 9th house, because we're in that Gemini energy. So Venus is in Gemini, Saturn is in Pisces, and for you it's a 5th, 9th house. So for you, Matt, what's going on here is that your creativity, your desire to create, you're trying to maybe become a little bit more structured in it, a little bit more organized. You're trying to make it more profitable. You're trying to do things, but that Venus up there is going, you should take some risks. You should take a little time off. Don't push yourself so hard. Just let your mind wander. But that other little part of you is going like, I need this to pay the bills. I need this to that trip I'm planning is going to cost some money. And I can't just be like, oh. So there is that struggle within you that's going on. Now with Ashley, it's in her 6th and her 8th house. So it's about how she is doing her kind of like service in the world, or it can be about health. And it's fighting with her 8th house. And so that struggle with the 8th house is like death, rebirth, let go. The 6th house is be a good little bot, do what you need to do, keep to the grindstone, be of service to the world. How are you good to the world? And the 8th house is going, dump that shit and move on.
Oh, the 8th house is vulgar.
So that's her place where she crosses. On 610, we have Mars, and Mars is moving into Taurus. For you, that's going into your 7th house, which is your house of partnerships, creating deals, creating things. Mars in Taurus is just a persistent energy of moving forward. You have to have patience. You have to have discipline. You want to move forward, but you want to do it in a steady way that is going to be lasting. Taurus is fixed earth. Taurus is like security. They want to know it's building, that security is building. And for you, Matt, with that movement going on, and with it going into your that Taurus is going into your 7th house, it means some of your partnerships, whether that would be with Jenny or any business partners, it could even be with me. We've partnered on things before. You want to create something that is more solid, more real, but it's going to take time. Like it's not something that you can do overnight. And you're going to have to kind of go, okay, I can see the big value of doing this, but it's going to be tedious to get there, but it will be worth the journey. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so that's going to be, that energy is already coming in, but it's really going to hit in the 10th. It's going to be there for a while, for several weeks with that in Taurus. And then it's going to come up and it's going to square your Pluto, which is your planet of transformation. And as it squares that planet of transformation, you're going to, it's in Aquarius and it's about new beginnings. So as part of you says, stick with the plan, just stick with the plan. You have a plan, make a plan. There's a part of you that says, maybe there's a higher something I can take this to. Maybe I can create part of this to like somehow, serve the world, or there's a humanitarian, or serve a larger group of people, an organization or something. So the Taurus is saying, just pay attention to the details. And the Pluto says, you have an opportunity to transform either your world or the world with whatever you're working on, but you can't do this and keep your head down and go full Taurus. I'm just gonna, it's time to make the donuts. And so it's challenging that for you to stop, look up, and see if you're missing some bigger pictures. Make sense?
I think so. Do you have to be good at math to understand all of this, Dr. Kevin?
Well, when I first learned astrology in the late 70s, I really loved it. I loved all of the interpretive parts. I loved all the stuff. But back then you had to cast a chart by hand, and it was a ton of math. It was a ton of figuring out degrees and angles and how things moved. And, the woman that taught me was brilliant. She had learned from her grandmother in England, which is considered the home of modern astrology. Like astrology went through a whole rebirth in England and then spread out against the world. Though it's been around for thousands of years, it laid very low for a long time. And I watched her like do my chart, and she was in her probably mid 60s. And like, I timed her. It was like 12 minutes. She did all of that math and everything because she'd been doing it for 55 years. And she had like 4 different books out, and she's looking at this and she's looking at this, and she has a calculator over there, and she's doing some stuff over here. And I was just like, whoa. So even though I've always stayed interested and fascinated with astrology, and I've always understood it from more of the spiritual, intuitive level, and I see the beauty of it, I didn't really dive back into astrology until I could hit a key on a computer that pop, there's the chart, it's done.
Yeah.
So your modern astrologer doesn't have to have the grounding in the hard math, but you still want to see where things come together. But the computer will tell you. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm not sitting there with a slide ruler figuring out these angles. I've got a website that I go that says, hey, on 6/12, we have Venus in Gemini, and it's going to be squaring, and it's still in that square with Saturn. But between 6/8 and 6/12, it started to go away, and then one of them went retrograde, and the square happened again. Though I don't have any indication that it's retrograde, so I may have to check on that. I could be wrong, but I'm listing it as 6/12, the same square as going on. One of the things you need if you're going to do astrology. Oh, you can't. Oh, there you go.
Oh, there it is.
Ephemeris. Yes, the American ephemeris. So,
do you need that now that we have Chat GPT?
What about Chat GPT?
Can you just can you ask that for to do all that for you?
If you plugged in all the information, you would be able to do all of that. Now, the analysis in of itself might not make sense to you. I guess it's just hitting the square twice because they're moving at 2 different things. So it hits the square, starts to go out, then it comes back in. Anyways,
That's what I mean about the math. It's confusing.
Yeah, I know. So we're going to go back to, I know you're doing a music show, 9 to 12. You're not talking politics all the time anymore. I usually kind of ask you what's catching your attention or what's been on your show lately. Anything that's been happening. We haven't talked since the 34 guilty convictions came up. And he's now officially, though he's appealing it, he's officially a felon.
Mm-hmm.
I love these. These are the countries he can't go to anymore, and he's going to lose his gun permit, and all of this stuff. What are your thoughts on all of that? Is it actually going to amount to a hill of beans anywhere?
No. In fact, there's a chance that they could win on appeal. They could win the appeal. In which case, this will have all done more harm than good, from the perspective of those of us who oppose Trump, such as myself. But I don't think in the end any of it really matters. I mean, his base becomes more, as soon as the conviction happened, I saw this thing going around that all these MAGA people were sharing on social media that say, I'm now more MAGA than ever. And of course, they are perfectly happy to donate their money to someone who claims to be a billionaire. So, he raised a lot of money. No, I mean, my prediction remains the same. I think the Republicans have become such a cult, and there's probably enough independents who like Trump. And as long as the Democrats are content to sleepwalk their way into 2024, into the election, and it's already 2024, but as long as they're going to sleepwalk their way into the election, I do believe Trump will win in November. I still think that. Remember, he doesn't have to win the popular vote. He just has to win the Electoral College. He lost by 3 million votes in 2016 and still won the presidency. So I think he will lose the popular vote again. But I think he'll probably win the Electoral College. There's a reason why Republicans don't want to change it. I mean, Democrats don't have a tremendous appetite to change it either. At least they certainly don't push for it very hard. But no, I think he'll probably. I think he'll be elected. And then. So no, this anybody else, of course, this would doom them as a candidate. But it's Trump, and it's such a cult. I mean, if you're MAGA, Trump could tell you the sky was green and you'd go outside and look up and say, oh yeah, I never noticed before. Yeah, so it doesn't matter. He's just, he's their hero and their martyr. He's a messianic figure to them. And, so doesn't matter what he's convicted of, doesn't matter what happens. They're going to vote for him no matter what. And I think there's not enough of them for him to win the popular vote, but he doesn't have to win the popular vote. So, he talks about rigged elections. Well, with our electoral college system, I mean, I know it was designed that way, but they have it rigged for him. So
there was a time, and I wonder if, and I want to check in to see if you've had any change. I think you have. I think we discussed it once, but I'm going to bring it up anyways. There was a time when I was saying the electoral college has got to go, and you're like, I don't know. Are you still in favor of the electoral college, or do you think it's time to kill the dinosaur?
Oh no, I've always had a preference to get rid of it. I think it should be done by popular vote. I'm just skeptical that it will ever actually happen, and I don't think that it will. I mean, you'd have to amend the Constitution, which is no easy thing to do. So no, I think we're stuck with it, but I don't like it.
I thought that there was a time, and maybe I'm just getting old and demented. I thought there was a time when you weren't, that you and I went back and forth, and you weren't as much of we got to dump the electoral college. I don't know why, and I could just be misremembering wrong, because I know it was probably pre-pandemic when we were having that conversation.
Well, what you might be recalling is my skepticism that we'll ever have any movement on that. So I don't get that invested in the concept of it, because I just don't think it'll ever happen. I don't think it will ever be done. I mean, when you have one of the two major parties that benefits so much from, I mean, it's rare. I think the only, I think in our lifetimes, I mean, who won the popular vote other than Reagan? And that may be it, right? As far as Republicans who won the presidency in our lifetimes. I mean, it's rare for a Republican actually win the popular vote in a presidential election. So that's why they benefit from it. So they'll always oppose changing it.
What are you going to be looking for? I'm assuming you're going to watch it. What are you going to be looking for at this debate? I heard somewhere that the station was going to be able to turn off the mic on the person who's not answering the question. So have you heard that as well?
Yeah, I've heard different things. I'm dreading the debates because here's the problem that I see is Biden is going to come off the way he comes off. He's an 81-year-old man, and he speaks like an 81-year-old man. And Trump, for all his nonsense, he still seems, I mean, people will often say, well, Trump, he's only a few years younger than Biden. Yeah, but that's not the important thing. The important thing is Trump, he still seems, even though so much of what he says is also nonsense, but he's able to speak it. Trump still seems robust. Trump does not seem frail. Again, you can look at instances where you wonder, is Trump losing it cognitively, just like you can with Biden? But when Trump speaks, he still speaks the same way that he always did, basically. I mean, he seems to know fewer and fewer words. His language becomes simpler and simpler as he gets older. But he still seems strong and robust, whereas Biden seems old and frail. That contrast will be on full display during the debates. And if Trump applies the same trick that he used, I didn't hear anybody in media point this out. I felt like I was the only one who noticed it. But if you remember in 2020, the debates, and they only had two. We usually get 3 presidential debates. They only did 2 in 2020. Trump would only agree to 2. In the first debate, Trump was really obnoxious, kept talking over Biden, interrupted him to a point where even some of his supporters were a little annoyed with him. In the second debate, this is what nobody noticed. I remember Jenny and I are watching the second debate, and Trump was on much better behavior. But I remember thinking very early in the debate, Trump seems like he's completely dominating Biden during this debate. But why? Why does it seem that way? Why do I have that perception? Because Biden seems like he's doing fine, and yet I feel like Trump is dominating him. And then I figured it out what Trump was doing. And this was, I despise him, but I'll give him credit. This was very smart. Trump was not interrupting or talking over Biden, but he was still making sure that in every exchange, he got the last word. So even if it was a question where the moderator asks Trump first, and then Biden gets to respond, right before the moderator goes to the next question, Trump would sneak in just a very quick, short sentence to rebut what Biden had just said. And Trump was very disciplined about it. He wasn't interrupting. He would wait till Biden was speaking. But in that brief moment before Biden was done and the moderator was on to the next question, Trump would just sneak in there with a quick sentence to rebut Biden. And that was very smart because it created the impression that Trump was just completely dominating Biden. So if Trump is able to do that again, I mean, it's just going to be disastrous. Biden is going to come off like this frail 81-year-old man, and Trump is going to seem like a strong, robust guy. And it's going to make all the people who are concerned about, well, not all the people, but, people who, independents who maybe could go either way, who are concerned about Biden's age, they're going to say, well, Trump still seems like he's got it. He still seems like he's there. And they're going to forget all about January 6th and all of it. And they're going to, they're going to vote for Trump. That's why I say the Democrats, they're just sleepwalking and they're taking it for granted. You can turn on a show like Morning Joe on any given weekday morning and hear like Joe Scarborough, who's a Republican, but ostensibly, and a lot of these mainstream Democrats who say, oh, listen to the bedwetters. They're all freaking out. They think Biden's going to lose. Just wait till the debates in America. We'll see what the contrast really is. Yeah, the contrast that Americans are going to see is not the contrast that these people who are just taking it all for granted that Biden has it in the bag. It's not the same contrast that they're expecting. It's not going to be good. And I stand by my prediction as much as I hate it. I do think Trump will win the election.
Well, we're gonna wait and see. We're gonna wait and see how it falls out. If and what Trump did, that was a good media coach. Somebody that Trump was willing to listen to.
Yes.
Orchestrate that.
Yep.
They went through those tapes and they were like, yeah, this is not helping you. This would help you.
Right.
And, but, I was thinking, I mean, everything I'm reading right now, and you never know what to believe. And, it's so hard. If there was one source that you think is actually really balanced and fair and presenting both sides, that you could say, that you could direct the listeners to, like, is there an email? Is there a website? Do you actually think that there's one that when you go there, you go, they're as close to the truth as you're going to get?
Off the top of my head, I would say, you have to go outside the country for that. Go to the BBC.
Okay.
You can listen to the BBC. You can watch them online. You can go to their website. I mean, the British Broadcasting Company, I think they present their presentation of American politics because they don't have can't say they don't really have a stake in it. They do, but I think if you want something completely free of any kind of bias, I mean, it's hard to find in the United States. Everybody's got some degree of bias, I think, but I always recommend that the BBC, I think, is a great source for news.
Okay. So for those of you that are going, I don't feel like I'm getting the real deal. I'm getting shade no matter who I listen to, whether it's CNN or Fox or whatever. See what they're saying outside the country about what's going on. Go do the BBC. I actually have the BBC programmed as one of my Sirius stations that I can listen to in the car.
Yeah. Yep. Me too.
Yep. So is there anything else? I mean, so first of all, I am going to say, because we all know that you have fallen in the Trump years to be a realist pessimist, where I try to be a realist optimist. But we both try to be realists to some degree, to some degree. And, the bottom line is amendments do happen. They do get passed. And I think that every time we go and say they're never going to, they'll never pass. They'll just never pass. It actually adds to the myth that you can't pass an amendment. I mean, you can't pass a constitutional amendment because we have. It's not easy, but I would never say it's impossible. What?
Been a long time though. I mean, what if it was possible at one time, but it's not possible anymore? I mean, when was the last time a constitutional amendment actually happened?
What was Ogafield? What was gay marriage?
That was a Supreme Court ruling.
Oh, I don't know. What was the last amendment that was passed?
I don't even know offhand. I mean, I think we have to go back to the 70s, don't we?
I'm not sure.
I'm gonna find out really quickly because I'm not actually sure either. Yes, constitutional. 1992. Okay. The 27th Amendment that required any change to the rate of compensation for members of the U.S. Congress to take effect only after the subsequent election in the House of Representatives. Really? I don't even remember that, but okay, apparently 1992. That was the last one. So that's still, I mean, that's 32 years ago.
Yep. But they happen. I mean,
I genuinely don't even remember that. It's funny.
Of course, it didn't affect your paycheck, and part of it got through because it affected the House of Reps paycheck.
Yeah.
So it will be interesting to see what goes on. Oh, we have 2 comments. The Midas Touch Network. Somebody is recommending the Midas Touch Network. Are you familiar with it?
I am Sepsis. My friends in the band Sepsis. I am very familiar with the Midas Touch Network. I check it out every single day. They've got some great people on there. Michael Popak is a favorite of mine. Ben Mysalis, if I'm saying his last name correctly. And they even have Michael Cohen is one of the contributors on Midas Touch. I love the Midas Touch Network. Jenny is a fan as well. Absolutely. Yeah, I recommend it, Dr. Kevin, if you're not familiar. I think you'd really enjoy the programming. It's on YouTube.
Okay. It's on YouTube. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
And then we have somebody else who.
Oh, Tom Russo. He's been on my show a couple times. Yes.
It's like trying to buy the gallon of milk that is less out of date.
Yes.
I think that's commentary on Biden and Trump. Yeah, these were not my first 2 choices either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tom, it's not even less out of date, it's less soured. But
well, I would say it's the rematch that America didn't want and yet is determined that we absolutely must have.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's time that we dumped the thing that says you have to be 35 to be president, and I think we would need to replace it that says that over 75 you can't run for president. The world has changed a lot since then.
You know what, Dr. Kevin? I think we should just go the other way with it. If we're just going to keep electing, I mean, if you think about it, when Trump was elected, he was the oldest president that we'd had up to that point. And then when Biden was elected, he became the oldest president we've had up to that point. I mean, at this rate, I say let's go all the way with it. Let's just dig up Eisenhower. No?
No.
I think he'd be fine. I think he'd do a great job. Good man. You like Ike? I mean, he's kind of dead, but, whatever.
Well, if you propped him up on the stage, you might not be able to tell the difference between the 3.
Sure.
So I'm going to completely flip the conversation because recently, for whatever reason, I have looked up a couple of times the different things that Trump said he would do if he was elected. And, there's a lot of talk about a lot of the different things. But like I said before, I am doing like Pride Month, doing something every day for Pride Month with my stories. I wanted to poke around. And of course, he said that when he got elected, I'm not, like I said, I am the realist optimist. So I'm not going to buy into that it's a done deal yet.
Good on you.
Is that he wanted to pass a law that there was only 2 genders. Do you remember that?
I don't remember him saying that specifically, but I mean, he'll say whatever his base wants to hear, obviously.
It was in the interview, the big interview he did, when he listed the things he would do if he became president.
Yeah.
And he was going to put an end to all of this nonsense and pass a law that said there is only 2 genders.
Well,
so I talked this morning, and I'm going to talk more about it tomorrow on my stories, which, is the fact that there is this full spectrum of genders that science has identified. But interestingly, there is a debate. There is this debate that goes back and forth, and I want you to weigh in on it. So they say that, we have, and it's all about different combinations, not just of X and X and X and Y, but what happens if you have, an X that's got a little Y kicker, but two X's. I mean, like there's all sorts of fascinating things. And I was reading, from a scientific, perspective, all the different things. And they said, well, in this case, this happens 1 in every 4,500. That's not a small number that would have, this go on. And if this happens, it can actually switch so that you become less female or less male and more of the other halfway through your life, because this switches on or that switches off, and it changes the hormone balance that, we kind of associate with what makes you, it's like they want to eliminate male and female and put in testosterone and estrogen. And so it was a really well done article, but they said, but all of these in betweens are called disordered sexual development. But there is this push to change it from DSD, disordered sexual development, which then declares it's a disorder, to different sexual development. And we go back and, and obviously I am pushing for the different label. I push for the diffability in my work with ADD and ADHD. We can't say that it's a disorder when you have enough people doing it, that it just creates a different shade of people. There are consequences, but there's consequences if you have too much testosterone as a woman, and there's consequences if you have too little as a man, and it changes over life. And of course, there's a line item budget in Congress for the buying of Viagra, but they want to, pass a illegal contraception ban. Making contraception illegal has been discussed on the table, as I'm sure. So what are your thoughts? Do you look at it that well, it is a disorder. It's out of the order of a nice.
You're freezing.
Oh, you're freezing now. I'm not freezing. You're freezing.
Oh boy, you're freezing up on me, Dr. Kevin.
And you're freezing up on me. Would somebody comment in which one of us is freezing up on the out there? Because
I heard you say that.
I'm freezing on him. Which one of us looks like a popsicle to you guys? Now, no one.
At the top of the show, it cleared up. When this happened at the top of the show, it cleared up. Maybe it'll clear up again.
Yeah, there seems to be. So, what do you think? Should we be calling it
boy. I see your lips moving, but I'm not hearing anything. There's quite a lag here.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't know. You on the comment screen, on the chat screen, I don't know if our listeners can hear me and they can't hear you. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to have you read my question out loud. So if it's me that's gone bad, can you read the chat?
Should it be okay? So I see the question. So hopefully people can hear me. Yeah, I guess it should be different. I mean, I'll be completely honest with you. So I don't spend a lot of time really thinking about all that. I just have a broader view of it in that, I've always considered myself, and this is of course appropriate for Pride Month, I've always considered myself a staunch LGBTQ plus ally. And I don't like to see anybody getting picked on or marginalized or put in danger in any way, as I feel trans people have been put in many instances in legitimate danger in this country. And so I'll always stand up for I love my country. I consider myself a patriot, and I know my idea of patriotism might not match up with other people's. But one of the things that I'm patriotic about, at least I think is a patriotic point of view, is that, and one of the things I love about this country is you can be your authentic self in this country, whether you're, gay, trans, whatever it is, and nobody's going to put you in jail for it, at least not yet. And you should be able to feel safe in your own country, and to be able to be who you are. And I think we all need to be more accepting of other people. And I don't understand a lot of the rhetoric that comes from a certain people of a certain ideological bent who act like, well, if you accept people who are different, that means they're going to make your children different, or whatever it is. Whatever it is that consumes these people, I think everybody needs to treat everybody with respect, no matter who they are. And and if you don't like it, you don't have to be a part of it. No one's gonna force you to, just because it's Pride Month doesn't mean someone's gonna force you to be gay or force your kids to be gay. You know what I mean? So everybody needs to lighten up a little bit and just accept people for who they are. Have you unfrozen, Dr. Kevin? It looks like you might have.
Yeah, because I could hear
good.
Your lips and your words were off a little, but I could hear everything you said. I was just
good.
Identifying the group in the private chat.
Yes.
Just for you and me. But unfortunately, and this is one of the things, how much damage that a Trump presidency would do is uncalculable, because he has already sworn vengeance. He's already clearly laid out that he wants to create a dictatorship. He's questioned whether they could overturn the law for, only get elected twice as president. He's talked about taking all the teeth out of the Justice Department. I mean, he is not hiding the fact that he will be the revenge, the revenge queen of the White House, basically smiting all of his enemies in good old-fashioned Old Testament fire and brimstone ways that he can get away with. Anything he can get away with legally. And go ahead. What are you going to say?
I'll say this, though, and I'll just offer a tiny glimpse at a silver lining here. He certainly talks that way. It sounds horrible just going by his rhetoric. And he does say things like, I'm your retribution and all that. Everything he says sounds really heinous. However, I'm not sure how sincere. Well, we know Trump is not a sincere human to begin with. I'm not sure how much of this, what he talks about, he has any actual appetite to do, only because I think his number one goal above all else, is to get back into the presidency so he can stay out of prison. If he can accomplish that one thing, get back into the presidency, is he really going to do all this awful stuff he seems to talk about, or will he care? Because once he's back into the presidency and he can save himself, I don't know. Is he going to actually do all this? Maybe he is. Maybe he isn't. Maybe he's just going to be like, all right, well, I'm back in and I'm just going to ride this out now. I don't know. I don't know how much of it he actually means. Who knows?
So I agree with you on one point, which is that I don't know. And that's kind of where I was headed, though I was taking the long way home, that I don't know how much of this stuff he will actually put energy into.
Right.
We don't know. I don't see the Senate and the House of and the House of Representatives both going Republican, but they did that. They were that way for the first 2 years, and they got nothing done anyways in his first part of his administration. I do think that if he saw that there would be state suits waiting for him at the other end of the presidency, he would try to overturn that he couldn't run again. And I do think that he would fire people he don't see as loyalists.
Well, that part he will do. I agree there. But
okay.
But stuff like trying to put it codify into law somehow that there are only two genders. That's so far out there. It's like, is he even going to bother, or is he just saying that to to appeal to his base, who he needs to get into the White House so he can stay out of prison. Like I said, who knows?
Okay, so we're wrapping up for today. When I see you again, Matt, we will have the first debate behind us. So
Yes.
that should be interesting. Next week, we are hoping to get our 620 guest on next week's show, Tim Spiker. He's the founder of the Apro and the Who, Not What principle, a profound and research-based truth. He's an author. He's scheduled right now for the 20th, but neither Ashley nor I are available. Ashley's out of the country and I'm out of circulation on the 20th. We're hoping to move that to the 13th. So that may be our guest next week. If not, Ashley and I will just be doing a show with just the two of us. If you want to come play next week, feel free, Matt. But if not, then we'll see you on the 11th.
Yeah, perhaps I will.
You just always, let me know if you want to be sent a link. We'll just be chatting. We probably won't be doing quite as much of the political stuff. But you're always good for talking about anything.
Yeah, so, no, I'll check my schedule. That sounds fun.
Yep. Okay, everybody, be well, and make sure that you check out all that I do at kevinrossemery.com. Come to my Facebook page, the one that you're looking on. Make sure you like it. Follow Matt. And you're on his Facebook page as well. And catch these morning stories. You should catch the stories and tell me what you think about them. You've got to see them either on Facebook or Instagram.
Yes, I see them on Facebook. Yes.
I don't see you liking them.
Maybe I don't like them. What do you think of that? No, I'm just kidding.
Like them.
I don't see them every day, but I do see them. Yes.
Okay. So we will talk to you later.
Thanks, Kevin.
Hold on, Matt.